I started getting dressed and like quickly brushing my teeth to be able to run out the door. And both my mom and my boyfriend looked at me and were lovingly like, "You shouldn't come." And I understood why they were saying that in the moment, but it also felt like really bad. Hello and welcome to the first Molly Rambles video of 2024. I am so pleased to have you here. Last week I started off the year's worth of content with a bang, a video about my guide dog being thrown up on. But if that one wasn't for you, I hope today's is. It's like a wee bit vulnerable, just slightly, but when did I ever shy away from that? Never. So pleased to be here and ramble with you. I want to talk about dealing with emergency situations as a blind woman, which I feel like will transcend and be relatable for people with many different forms of disability, especially if your disability affects your physicality or your mobility. So I feel like this will be relatable to many people, hopefully. And if it's not relatable for you, be grateful, be glad. And this is a good learning experience. It's a good learning opportunity. I've kind of touched on one element of dealing with emergencies as a blind woman in these 2 videos, or these 3 videos, 4 videos. I feel like I've talked about it in quite a few videos. Did a video where I talked about the fact that I was at the back of a 10,000 person stampede. I've talked about having like a 2 a.m. fire alarm in a kind of strange environment. I've talked about like a explosion in the building that I was living in, my mom almost dying, getting hit by a rock. Like I've talked about a number of emergency situations that I have found myself in before, but I've always discussed the vulnerability that I feel when I specifically feel like I'm in an emergency or I'm under attack. Under attack, I mean, you know what I mean? Like I'm the one that's potentially going to like get hurt or that kind of thing. But I haven't discussed it from the other side of the coin, which is where I am around when somebody else is facing an emergency. And this recently happened in my life to me twice, which is what has inspired me to talk about it. And actually my boyfriend was the one who was like, "You should talk about that," because the emergencies were with him. And we debriefed after both experiences. And, you know, I shared how it felt for me as his partner going through those things with him. And he was like, "I think you should make a video about that and talk about it with your audience." You know, not only is there potentially people who could feel heard and seen and understood and validated because they feel similarly as somebody with a disability when they go through emergencies, but also potentially some of you might have some words of wisdom or some ideas or some feedback for me that could help me, because I always say, like, I learn as much from you guys as I hope you learn from me. So I hope that this not only makes some of you like feel comforted, because you guys know I share my life with you because I've never felt seen in media. Frankly, like oftentimes I don't even feel seen in my day-to-day life because the majority of people I'm surrounded by daily are non-disabled people who can empathize, but they cannot fully understand my experience. And so I like to come to the internet to connect with my community and to allow people to feel seen in a way that I've always felt I was lacking, but also to like gain insights from all of you, because I'm no expert. Like I'm just one person with one lived experience and I can only know so much. So I always love learning from all of you. So I hope in the comment section of this video, we can have like lots of really positive, constructive, helpful, supportive, loving, kind, empathetic conversation. And again, if you are not disabled, but you are in the lives of somebody who is and you love somebody who is, I hope maybe this can help you glean a bit of insight as to how it feels to those of us who are disabled when we are put in these situations. So obviously, my boyfriend suggested I make this video. He gave me full permission to discuss this. So without further ado, I'll jump into kind of like a slight story time type of situation and then discuss mostly my feelings and how it was. So I'm not going to go into super specifics or details because that is like my partner's medical information. That's not mine to share. But essentially, like late October, and then mid-November, my boyfriend experienced 2 medical emergencies within about a 6-week span of each other. And both times he was with me. The first time near the end of October, or was it mid-November, early November. Anyways, it doesn't matter. They were about 6 weeks apart. Around that time frame, he was at my place, my LA place. We had spent the night prior, the Saturday night, I slept over at his apartment, and then we were debating the Sunday night, should we like sleep at his place, my place, should we just sleep separately? Because we were both kind of like looking at our Monday schedules and just trying to figure out what made the most sense. But we ended up deciding for various reasons that he would sleep over at my place that night. So Sunday night, he sleeps over at my place. Neither of us are morning people, and we both are our own bosses. We're both entrepreneurs. So we get to be not morning people, and we mostly spend our lives constructing schedules that allow us to work mid-morning, afternoon, and evening, and into the night. Like, both of us are creatives, and we both find ourselves being creatively inspired mostly in the evenings and late at night. So like, I will be working at 10 p.m. and so will he, but that means we also are not working at 9 a.m. like most people. Most days when our schedule allows for it, obviously. We both have times when we have to be up for like set or for meetings or for whatever, but for the most part, like, we let ourselves sleep in later than your average 30-year-olds might. And yes, I'm just gonna start referring to myself as 30 because even though I'm not 30 till February 8th, it is just around the corner, so 30. I have to get used to saying it out loud, you know? So yeah, basically we were like sleeping. Typically we both wake up between like 8:45 and 9:30 on days when we don't require waking up earlier than that. So I heard him get out of bed and get into a shower. And I just assumed like he naturally woke up and was like, I'm just gonna take a shower. I was still sleeping and I fell back to sleep, but I woke up and I don't know how much later it was, but he was still in the shower and I was like, that seems weird. He was in severe pain and he was getting sick and stuff. And I was like, I feel like you need to go to the hospital. My mom was not home. She was out running errands. And I was like, I can't drive. And he was in no state to drive. Like, he had a car and it was parked in my building's parking lot, but like, he was not in a state to be able to safely drive himself to the hospital. And I am blind, so I could not safely drive him to the hospital. I called my mom, I let her know what was going on, and she was like 5 minutes away from home anyways. She got home and we were all trying to make that decision of like, do we do urgent care? Do we do hospital? Are we being dramatic? Do we wait it out? My mom looked at him and she's like, no, we need to get him somewhere. And we were like, okay, let's just do urgent care first because ERs in LA, like, it's a nightmare, you know, like, you want to avoid it if you can. I started getting dressed and like quickly brushing my teeth to be able to run out the door. And both my mom and my boyfriend looked at me and were lovingly like, you shouldn't come. And I understood why they were saying that in the moment, but it also felt like really bad. Like, all I wanted to do as his partner was be there to support him, but ultimately I knew that by me going with him, I would likely cause more trouble than it was worth. And so my mom went in an Uber with him, went to urgent care, ended up in the ER, whatever. I did all that I knew to do. Like, I knew that although I wanted to physically be there to support him, the best way I could support him was by not going with him and was by staying home and doing other things to help him, like calling his family to let them know. I was checking in with my mom. I was calling some different people to get some medical advice, stuff like that. Like, people I knew in the medical industry and stuff like that. So that was like all that I knew to do. Making sure that when he was gonna be able to get home, I had the right food in the fridge that he was gonna wanna eat, like stuff like that. That was all I knew to do to be a support. And when he did get home, like 6 hours later from the hospital, you know, just being there to comfort him and support him and like make a cup of tea and put on a show that was funny to make him feel better, that I knew he would enjoy, things like that. That, you know, happened, we moved on. And ultimately, like, I was very happy that he had decided to stay at my place and not at his, because if he had woken up on Monday morning in this state at his place, his two roommates would have been both at their jobs and he would have been alone. And that would have been significantly worse. And I'm equally as grateful that the second time occurred when we were in Palm Springs for the holidays and my whole family was there. And again, like, everybody was able to pitch in and support. But once again, similarly, The medical episode lasted like 6-ish hours, and because we all knew this time what it was, he tried to wait it out at home and not go to the hospital. And so ultimately that just meant like me trying to support him in any way that I could at home. But it's really, really hard because, and I know that some of you might be questioning like why my mom and him felt that it was best I didn't go to the hospital that first time and why I understood. And the reasons being that I need help. I am somebody that needs help. I need you, like if I need to pee, I need somebody to help me find that bathroom in an unfamiliar environment like the ER at the hospital in LA that I've never been to. I can't be the person to help him fill out paperwork at the hospital the way that he was in pain and needed somebody to do that for him. And so the choice is, do I go and not my mom? In which case, he needs to help me find the door to get in. He needs to help bring me to the bathroom when I need it. He needs to fill out his own paperwork. I might have to get in an argument with the Uber with my guide dog. I might have to get in an argument at the ER with my guide dog. Therefore, in all of these circumstances, I am causing him, who is experiencing the medical emergency, more trouble than it is worth. Because the only help I'm really giving him in that moment is like emotional support. Or my mom goes, and she is able to provide the emotional support and fill out that paperwork and make sure that she's communicating to the Uber driver and making sure that when they get into the ER, she is, talking to the person behind the desk, helping him get to a seat, making sure that he has water if he needs it. Not me being like, oh, you need water? I'll try to figure it out, but no promises. Like at the end of the day, a sighted person is able to provide him more support than I am capable of doing. And maybe you're blind and you feel like you're capable of doing those things in an emergency. That's great for you. I know myself and my limitations. And with my level of vision loss, I know that I'm not capable of that. And with my experiences living in Los Angeles, in a big city, with a guide dog, I know that I am likely to experience troubles with him. And so sure, I could leave him home and take him a cane, but there is still so many of those other issues I mentioned that would still exist as barriers for me to support him in an emergency. And so in that circumstance, it was best that my mom went, and you could say, sure, there's a world in which I and my mom go, but then she is trying to help him and me. So I am still taking away from him, who should be the focus in this scenario. And then when we were dealing with it at home and we were trying to write it out at home in Palm Springs, there were times when like I needed my mom to step in and help, or my dad to step in and help, or my brother or his wife to step in and help, because the help that he needed required somebody being able to see. When you are in a lot of pain and experiencing a medical emergency, it is important for like other people to step up and sometimes make decisions for you, because you are not necessarily always capable of making smart decisions when your mind and body is in survival mode. You're not always the one who needs to make that call of, is it time to go to a hospital? Or you need to drink more water or do those things. Like you're not thinking straight, right? And so it's hard because being able to see a person is helpful. For example, when my mom came home that first time, she looked at him and was like, she could see that he was pale, that he had no color in his face. She could see the pain on his face. I can't. So I was just relying on him trying to describe his level of pain. And that's not the same as being able to actually see his pain, right? And it was the same when he was dealing with it at home in Palm Springs. I kept asking him, how are you feeling? Because asking him how he was feeling was the only way that I could gauge how severe is it? Is he getting better? Is he getting worse? Do we need to consider getting to the hospital at some point? But for him, and I understand this, it was annoying. Like he was like, please stop asking me. And it wasn't because he was trying to be rude. It was because like he could barely talk. And like me asking him constantly how he was doing was annoying and frustrating, and it was not helpful. But the only way I could gauge how he was doing was to ask. And I felt helpless. And I felt like all I wanted to do was support this person that I loved through this really difficult thing, but I couldn't do it in the ways that I really wanted to. And it made me feel so bad. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. Don't get emotional, Molly, you're fine. It made me feel so bad. It made me feel like a burden at a time when all I wanted to do was help. And feeling like a burden is a feeling that disabled people know well, because society, frankly, loves to make us feel like we are a burden. And even though our loved ones do a very good job at trying to remove that feeling and trying to make us feel like we are not a burden, or I can't speak for everybody, my loved ones have done a very good job at not making me feel that way. In moments like this, I do, and I can't help that I do. Similarly, in 2022, in this video, I shared that one of the many hardships my family dealt with that year was a cancer scare with my mom. And she went through 2 surgeries a couple weeks apart, and I was the only one here with her to care for her after those surgeries. It's hard because there are things that I need her to help me do. And I try to be as independent as I can be. And I know that there's certain people who will judge me for not being able to do certain things on my own, and that's fine, you can judge me, but I'm certain there are things that I can do that you can't, and maybe there isn't, and that's fine, because we're all different people and we all have different limitations, regardless of having the same disability or a different disability or no disability. Every person has different experiences, opportunities, abilities, skills, talents, and limitations, and that's okay. And I've learned to come to terms with mine and accept mine and lean into the things that I'm good at and lean into my strengths and hone those and try to forgive myself for my shortcomings or what I view as my shortcomings and find ways to accommodate myself and find ways around that. And the people who love me in my life and the people who support me every single day, like, they don't see those things, you know, they don't look at those things and think less of me. And I'm very fortunate for that. So somebody on the internet can see those things and think less of me, and that's fine. Go ahead. That's what I get for exposing myself to the world. But I do so, and I let myself be vulnerable and honest about these things because I know that there are people who will benefit from it. And so in that time, like, there was things that ultimately, like, my mom shouldn't have been doing anything. She should have been focusing solely on recovering, but there was moments that I needed her to help me. And that felt really freaking awful. It felt terrible to not be able to care for my mom in the ways that she's cared for me and in the ways that she deserved to be cared for when she was recovering. And it felt the same with my boyfriend. And that is like such an awful feeling. And it is such a weight to bear. And I'm so fortunate, and my partner is so fortunate that in both of those instances, my loved ones were there to help. But it scares me to think of the future when they're not, and when I'm the only one with him, or when I'm with somebody else who's dealing with something. And I know that, like, ultimately there's ways to work around those things, like calling a close friend. My partner has a large circle of people he would consider family in LA, and I do as well. And all of those people on his side and my side are people that I know either of us could call in an emergency for any reason, and they would be right there to help. And ultimately, if we had needed to call an ambulance, you can call an ambulance. Like, that's why they exist, you know? And so, like, I know that there are ways around these things, but it is really hard to feel like you can't be the one to do that for somebody that you love when you want to and when they need it, when you know that they would for you. I try not to focus on the hard parts of my disability, but they exist and they always will. No matter how successful I am in my career, no matter how much money I make, no matter how many skills I develop, no matter how many ways I find to accommodate myself, no matter how much technology comes out that exists to help, there will always be hardships to being disabled. This is one of them. And yeah, like I said, I just wanted to share this because maybe some of you have advice and things that I haven't thought of on how to cope with these situations. Maybe some of you have also felt this in your own ways, in your own life. And maybe some of you have been through these experiences and have come up with solutions or have advice, or have been in these situations and yeah, I don't know, felt the same. And I'm rambling now. It's a Molly Rambles video. I warned you. I told you that's what it would be. But that's ultimately why I'm sharing this. And I know that these are situations that will continue to come up in the future. Like, that's just life. Emergencies happen, both medical emergencies and non-medical emergencies. Unexpected things happen in life, and you need to cope with them. Disability just makes them that much harder to cope with. I never want to feel like I am a burden to somebody who needs me to be a support. But I'm very fortunate that my mom, that I'm not even hormonal. It's just hard. It is. It's just vulnerable. It's just hard. It's just like, it's just a very hard feeling.
I get frustrated.
It's very frustrating. Like you just get angry at yourself.
Which you shouldn't, but I know I can't tell you that.
Yeah, you just get angry that you can't, that you have this limitation that you wish you didn't, and that you have this limitation that there is seemingly no solution for. Like you feel like, I can't just see, I can't just turn on my vision. And you get, even, I have these moments where I'm like, even if I could see a bit more, like if I just had more sight than I do, or if I just X, Y, Z, like you just get frustrated with yourself and you get angry with yourself. And instead of being able to help somebody, you're like angry at yourself, you know? And all I can do in those moments is like try to be the least amount of burden as I can. And sometimes that means removing myself from the situation, because that's what's going to be most helpful to that person, even though I don't want to. I want to be there for them. But I'm very fortunate that both my mom and my boyfriend like give me a lot of grace in those situations and love me through it. And they understand. My boyfriend was so sweet, you know, both times when he came home from the hospital, like he was like, I so appreciate the love and support you were giving me. Even though I spent both of those days feeling so inadequate as a partner and like feeling like if he had a sighted partner, they would have been able to do more for him. He was still so appreciative of the little that I felt, like what I felt was a little bit that I could do for him. Like he just appreciated any of that support and that I was there for him in any capacity. And I'm so lucky. Neither my mom nor him in those scenarios made me feel inadequate and like lent into those thoughts of my own. They both like love me and don't see those things. And like they see my strengths. And I'm so fortunate to have that. Because I know not everybody does. So I feel very grateful that I have a partner who, yeah, like didn't see what I lacked in that moment, but was just appreciative to what I could provide still. My mom and him affirming me in those ways, like it doesn't take away how bad I feel about myself in those moments. So that's really it. That's all. I guess a bit of a sad, vulnerable video to start the year out. Happy New Year! But that's life, you know? So I'll end the video there. There's no positive resolution, really, other than my gratitude to my loved ones, that I feel so fortunate to have them.
I didn't know you felt so deeply about it, but I suspected.
Oh, it's so painful. It's like so hard.
Yeah.
Grief is so weird because like the grief of being disabled, like the grief of my vision loss, it is forever. It emerges in moments that you don't expect or anticipate because I'm so far removed from my vision loss at this point in my healing journey. Like for the most part, I rarely think about it and I'm really content and I'm really happy. But for the rest of my life, I will have moments where I grieve my blindness. I grieve the fact that I can't see and that I lost my sight and that my life could have been different. You have these moments that hit you out of nowhere, and these moments come during hardships, and sometimes they come during happy moments. Like, I'm sure if I get married one day, as much joy as there will be around my wedding day, there'll also probably be moments of grief around it too, right? Around the fact that I don't get that moment of seeing my partner at the other end of the aisle when I turn the corner, or little things like that, right? So grief is weird, and it hits you at odd times, and I guess ultimately this video is both about the vulnerability of dealing with emergencies as a disabled person and also about the experience of grief that comes along with being disabled. Even when you're far along your journey, it is okay to have moments where you are frustrated and you feel bad about yourself and you are angry and you resent your situation. You can be as self-accepting and as content in your life as you can be and still have moments like this, and that's okay. And try to give yourself the grace your loved ones do. Try to forgive yourself, but also like it's okay to express these feelings and to let them out. And that's it. That's all. I'm gonna stop now. Okay. If you'd like a happier video, you can watch this Blind Leading the Blind episode where I learned to play soccer for the blind. It was so much fun. Or if you missed that story time from last week and you don't have a weak stomach, you can hear about the time Elton John got thrown up on a few months back. All right, see you in next week's video. Bye.